How's it going, Charlie? First off, I want to say I think you played a key role in getting Trump elected, and I want to thank you for that. So a few weeks ago, you had a debate with a vegan. The video got taken down.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just follow up on that debate. You mentioned some things such as like feminization of soy or the health implications. What do you make of vegan strongmen? There's plenty of high performing athletes that make it totally viable to live on a plant-based diet. So I think using those as examples, it kind of paints the picture that maybe it's not really required to harm animals if we can get our nutrients from plants.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So a couple things. I don't love the way that debate went, so we're actually going to repost with some commentary, but yeah, duly noted.
Okay.
For a couple reasons. So if you're vegan, I just want you, I don't know how much you know about this or not, but like if you're vegan, where do you get your CoQ10, your omega oils, your B12 from?
Yeah, so you could, like B12 comes from, like they supplement the feed that animals get with B12, so we're just eliminating the middle cow and getting it direct from the source. Omega-3s, those also come...
That's the toughest.
Yeah, I think that those come from algae. So you could just take algae supplements that have B12. And I would like to further add that the American Dietetics Association, which is the largest body of health dietitians in America, I mean, they have a paper that basically says it's completely fine and practicable to inadequate to live a vegan lifestyle in all stages of life, and they actually promote some benefits in the reduction of certain health diseases.
If that's what you want to do, then you have the power to do that. I have other very serious objections. I think there's a part of veganism that thinks as if you are saving animal lives, when in reality a lot of the agricultural practices displace birds and kill a lot of other animals as well. So it actually just hides the suffering. It doesn't actually eliminate the suffering.
Yeah.
Again, if that's what you want to do, fair enough. There's a very good documentary on Netflix all about vegan weightlifters, and the most legitimate component of that is when they actually measure the blood samples between someone that eats meat and does not.
Yeah.
But we also must be very clear, veganism is very expensive. It's something that a lot of people would not necessarily be. The only way you can do veganism is if you have money, you have tons of attention, and you understand the vitamin deficiencies that do exist.
Sure.
Which again, CoQ10, omega-3s, and vitamin B12, that's legit. If you don't actually supplement on that, you could have major deficiencies. And everybody's wired differently.
Yeah.
But I would say most people, just to guess, and there are studies to support this, they would struggle on a plant-based diet for many different reasons. Number one, plants literally do attack your system, actually in a good way. Literally, as you digest fruits and veggies, they minorly attack your system. It all depends on your gut, and for some people, they need some form of animal protein. It actually helps them with digestion.
Sure.
It's slower to digest. They get more protein out of it. So know your blood type, know how you approach things, and if you want to be a vegan, more power to it. What I don't like though is when vegans shame us meat eaters as if we're
I think
terrible people. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But I think there should be some sort of moral obligation to a degree, right? Like, I mean, you probably wouldn't have the same feelings if those were like dogs in slaughterhouses, right? We would probably have a moral objection to that. If it's like a minor inconvenience that you just got to take a B12 supplement every morning, or maybe twice a week, I don't think it justifies the pain and suffering that we are inflicting on these animals. And so I just want to, are you actually making the claim that you can't thrive on a plant-based diet easily?
It depends on.
I've been doing it 8 years, and I don't pay that much attention. It all
depends on who you are and your. I have serious problems. I could not be on plant-based. I know that perfectly. I'm better when I'm able to eat maybe salmon or chicken or steak. I perform better. I think better. My body does not agree with just simply plants, right? But everyone's different, right? But there is a moral contention, though, that is underlaying of veganism, which I don't know if you're a Christian or not.
I'm not.
Okay, and that's...
I respect that's fine. The values of the Catholic
cool. So, teachings. We as Christians, believe human beings are superior to animals, and we are not moral equivalents. We believe that we are given by God the direction to be able to subdue the earth and to be fruitful and multiply for our purpose. Yeah. And so, while slaughterhouses are not ideal, obviously, and can be kind of very grotesque. Yeah. I think that people that, for example, they eat elk or they eat bison, that was able to free roam, I think that I see no moral issue with that, and I also see a lot of health upsides. And then I would just kind of challenge that when human beings were at their healthiest, which is not today, we were not eating a vegan diet, right? It was actually so there's 3 types of food. There's carbohydrates, proteins, and fats.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for vegans to be able to get enough protein.
Sure.
It's legit. You can agree. So you have to get.
I don't think it's that hard, but I mean,
you have to eat a lot of tofu, which is basically soy. There's
a lot of different sources of protein. But
yeah, I mean, there's legumes, right? There's nuts.
But again, back to the vegan strongmen, they're killing it. There's Patrick Bumoumian's the strongest. He was once held the strongest person in Germany.
I don't contest.
So well,
that.
let me.
It's all a free. If you have free will to eat as you choose.
Let me eliminate this whole. You're basically talking about pragmatics. Like you're maybe not fully convinced that you can be vegan.
No, I think some people can, some people can't. It's personalized. The question is, do you think everyone? Well,
okay. So let's just clear that debate up then. Like if we found a crop out in the Amazon that tasted just like plant, or that tasted just like meat, everything was equivalent. You have the same nutrients, the same compound, the same taste, the same cost. Everything was held equal. In that situation, would you consider veganism, or would you resort to the dominion over animals?
I don't know is the answer. I mean, it's a hypothetical. Again, I think there's actually something good about getting animal protein in your system, and I think we underestimate actually all the benefits from muscle mass to neuroscience and development. All that to be said, it's your own free will. Use your agency to do as you see fit.
Right.
I would caution some people though, and there are a lot of people that try veganism and they get super depressed and they don't feel themselves. You just have to know your body, know your system, and I believe that final point,
But when it comes to with extraordinary harm comes an extraordinary justification. Like we're talking about the life and death of these animals here, so you really gotta.
I don't think it's extraordinary harm. I think
it's a death of an animal. You're prematurely killing it. Even if you talk about elk and all that. Like it's still taking the life away from that animal, and you wouldn't do that in the human context. So what's the symmetry breaker?
No, I know.
If you wouldn't do it to
they
humans,
aren't human beings. That's the point, right? And
right. So what breaks that symmetry?
Well, the fact they're not human beings.
Okay, so just species alone is what. So if I transplanted the consciousness of a human into an animal body,
more than consciousness. That's where I don't want to get too deep into that.
Okay.
Human beings are way more than consciousness. We have a soul. You don't agree with that? We do.
I think we have a soul. I would argue that animals have a soul. Like you don't think your dog has a soul?
No, I don't believe my animal. No, if you believe your dog has a soul, that's not a Christian belief. Just to be clear.
Can you clarify that? Like, what do you mean by that?
A soul is that which is made in the image of God. Period.
Okay.
And Genesis says only one being in the animal kingdom is made in the image of God, and that is man and woman. Not the dog, not the leopard, not the cat, not the cheetah, not the elephant, not the.
So then I can get past this by saying if there was another religious doctrine that said it were okay to kill lesser humans, like if you're stronger than other humans, you can kill them for nutrition. Like, would you just?
That's not Christianity.
Well, I know, but you're kind of appealing to authority in a way.
No,
right?
not just appealing. I'm appealing to truth, right? I'm also appealing to what built the West. So you're enjoying the moral construct that basically built the greatest, most prosperous.
I'm sure, yeah, and I'm not going to deny that it was an important factor of our upbringing. But I think we've come to a point now where we can actually assess the situation and think clearly about it. Why are we inflicting suffering when it can be avoided? Especially on a massive scale.
Again, I would reject the premise. First, I don't think it can be avoided. Number two, I don't think it's necessarily suffering to kill animals. I think we should do it as humanely as possible. I have to ask you a question. It might seem a little inappropriate. Feel free to not answer it.
Sure.
So, are you pro-life?
Yeah, I mean, you can. This is a separate.
Well, it's not separate. You say the killing of cows is a slaughter.
Well, okay.
Is the killing of unborn babies a slaughter?
Yeah. So I thought you were going to bring that up. I mean, personally, I think the abortion is really like people treat it as such a easy and like simple thing to do. Like they don't give it the care that it deserves. I don't think we should just have blanket abortions, right?
Okay, fair enough. I just want you to think about.
So I'm mostly pro-life.
Good. But you can understand why I asked the question, which is some vegans, not you, are slaughterhouses are terrible of cows, but Planned Parenthood is fine.
And they have a contradiction, sure. Yeah,
and I think there's a big contradiction. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the respect. You have the free will. Yes, you have the free will to be vegan, and I wish you a happy life.
All right. Thank you. I would just ask you to just consider it again.
Thank you.
All right, guys. All right, cool. So yeah, I'm just going to go through a post-debate analysis here. Want to start off by saying, I think I did a good job on the debate. I will say that Charlie, is a better debater, if you will. I mean, he does this professionally for a living, so his tactics were really on point, and he has a good protocol for debating. This was my first public debate probably ever. So given that, I think I did pretty good. But yeah, like on as far as debate tactics go, he was talking probably for the majority of the amount of time. So he got in more talk time, and he came off as more confident in all these things. So I definitely, I was stumbling on my words. I was nervous. I was also needing to get back to work, so I was feeling rushed. But either way, like I said, I think the logical arguments I were making were much better than his, but his tactics were better executed. But yeah, that being said, well, let's just go through it. I made in the video that you guys already saw, I made a bunch of memes / images throughout the video that kind of refuted each one of his points. So I just want to go through each one of those, just provide some extra context for a lot of people. This might be new topic to them. I mean, obviously veganism is not a new topic, but the way that I'm argumenting it or debating it might be new and unfamiliar. So I just wanted to go through it. And so yeah, this is his playbook. I want to start off by saying, the foundational bias that he's operating on is one of speciesism. So that's kind of the underlying foundation ethical framework that he has. And it basically, as the name implies, it just means that you discriminate based on species. So that might be a new term for some of you, but I'll go into it a little bit. So, I don't think this image made it to the video, but it kind of demonstrates effectively what I'm arguing for is that moral worth should not be based on species. It should be based on qualities such as, the capacity to feel fear, joy, emotions, those kinds of capacity, like that. That's what allots value to somebody, not just arbitrarily being a part of some species or not. And so this meme kind of demonstrates that and this was actually what I said in the debate, like if you were to transfer the consciousness of a human and just put it in the body of a pig or an animal, does that automatically in and of itself just devalue this new quote unquote being? Like it still has the same brain, the same capacity as a human. It's just in a different form factor. And so I would argue that the form factor is not what should provide value, moral worth, if you will. And so, yeah, the bottom here, still Jake, just a less protected body. So in my opinion, that's a flawed way of looking at things. We should value beings based on their capacity to feel fear and suffer and all these things. And so, this was also demonstrated here that the pig has emotions, it has memory, it can feel fear, but it's not human. And so by Charlie's logic, it's the moral rights are denied, right? But the point that I'm trying to make is it's not about being human, it's about being someone. It's akin to classism, racism, they're not like us, so we can do what we want to them type of mentality. We're just taking it a step further and being logically consistent and just saying we should hold a similar standard even across species. So even though they're not our species, we shouldn't just treat them with disregard and discriminate against them. And, the conclusion, the consequences of being a speciesist would be, in this example, like an alien species came and they decided they wanted to take dominion over humans. They started farming humans. Obviously, we would view that as an atrocity. Many people will try to say, oh, yeah, well, they can do it, but, I would fight back or whatever. But, the underlying concept here is that it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be the right thing to do. We would hope for some mercy from aliens. And so we're just suggesting that mercy should be applied to animals as well. So that's the kind of foundation he's operating on, speciesism. So let's go through each one of his points. And I don't know, I'm not going to maybe not spend too much time on each one of these, but we'll start with the health side, so the nutritional deflections. So, throughout the debate, he tried to argue that, some people can be vegan, maybe some people can't. It depends on the person. I don't think that's valid. I don't think that's based on evidence. Maybe there is a small 2% portion of the population that could not be vegan for some health complications. Okay, this doesn't apply to them. This is just applying to the 98% of humans who, we all share. We're all different, but we, evolutionarily speaking, we're quite similar. We all require the same nutrients. We require fats, proteins, carbohydrates. So we're not all that different. And so he made this point a few times. He didn't make this point. I just wanted to include it in here because, there are many people that do make this point, which is one that, we evolved to eat meat. Like maybe our health is better adapted to eating meat just because we've been doing it for so long that we're adapted to it and it's better evolutionarily speaking. But what those people fail to realize is that evolution doesn't really care about the longevity. All evolution cares about is that you procreate. So once you get past the stage of procreation, meat can get you there. But then when you hit, 60 and you have high blood pressure, evolution did its job. You reproduced. It doesn't really care what your health outcomes are. So we shouldn't appeal to evolution or our traditions to continue participating in these, what I would say are atrocities. This point he made, he tried to make the point that, right now we're not healthy as humans, and he tried to blame that on veganism, which is bizarre to me. I mean, vegans only make up probably even less than 2% of the population. So to say that Americans or the world is unhealthy because of veganism just doesn't make sense. This one he made a few times, this point. So, it's almost like he's saying that there's just something about meat that, I operate better because of some unknown hidden nutrient, right? And so I made this meme that basically exposes this, the unknown nutrient called Vibrium that just hits different. Like what is that nutrient that you're talking about? You have to, provide evidence. If you're going to say that there's something in meat that you can't get from plants, well, what is it? He made that a few times. This is kind of similar, like, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, their paper, which is a very high quality research paper. It's not just some random vegan article or something. This is a peer reviewed with many, I believe, meta-analysis inside of the research paper, but I'm not super well versed in the health aspects of it. But basically, it's a high quality research paper that demonstrates that veganism is acceptable for anyone at all stages of life. Childhood, birth, pregnancy, adulthood, and even high performing athletes. But Charlie wants to say, oh no, I feel weird when I eat hummus, right? Like what is it? Why couldn't you adopt a plant-based diet? What is it exactly that makes you feel weird? What is it exactly that you're missing? He couldn't point that out. I also didn't really press him on that, but so this is just trying to show that, like, are people really not going to be healthy on a vegan diet? Like, are you going to go to the doctor and the doctor's going to say, oh, you've been eating too much broccoli? Like, come on. We all know that the veggies are perfectly healthy. So that's not it. This was the strong evidence, piece of evidence that I'm using. If Charlie wants to debate the evidence here and say that this is low quality evidence, then, he should maybe consider a debate with a vegan doctor. I think it's very hard to refute what is being said in this paper. So that's why I use this as strong evidence to support that you can be healthy on a plant-based diet. And protein, though, he did say this quite a bit. Come on, man. We get protein. All plants have some amount of protein. Yes, some are less than others, but there's plenty of protein. that can be sourced. Germany's strongest man is a vegan, and he had no issues getting enough protein. Vitamins, though, you just supplement whatever vitamins that you might be lacking in. There's really not that much that you need to supplement. I take a daily multivitamin, a vegan multivitamin that covers a lot of this. So that's really not that big of an issue. Practical barriers. This is kind of a point that I was trying to make, that, it's not that unpractical or impractical to be vegan or to live a plant-based diet. I mean, this is a multivitamin I take daily, covers my needs, and it takes me 2 seconds to pop the supplement. We're covered. So there shouldn't be much of a practical rejection or objection to eating plant-based. Personal autonomy. He did throw this one out quite a few times. He kept saying, if you want to be vegan, that's your choice, and more power to you. The problem is it's not so much a personal choice to not be vegan when the other end of your choice has a victim. That no longer is a personal choice. Like, a personal choice is like, what drink do I want to have, like, or what shirt do I want to put on, like that. Those choices don't have a victim involved. But in the choice of consuming animals, there is a victim in that choice. So it's no longer a personal choice. The judging, though, many people might feel judged. I'm not necessarily judging people for consuming animals. I'm just pointing out why it might not make sense. I mean, and I've done a lot of, I've been doing this 8 years. I've been doing a lot of research on this. I just can't come up with a good justification to continue harming animals. So it's not that I am judging others or trying to judge. I know it might come across that way, and I don't mean to. But I think what's happening internally is maybe people feel and see that, there isn't much reason to support their decisions, and so they feel judged, and then they just use that as an excuse. Don't judge me. Again, what's really happening here, there's an animal that's dying on the other end of your choices. So, this animal is quite uncomfortable. I think it's okay to be judged or to feel judged in order to protect this animal. Same thing there. So he made the claim that he doesn't think that eating animals is extraordinary harm. I mean, that's pretty absurd in my opinion. Obviously, we wouldn't feel this way about dogs. If I just wanted to, eat a dog burger, it's not extraordinary harm. Don't worry about it. It doesn't hold in that context. Free range, though, this is a big one, especially for the conservatives. Given free range obviously is better, there's higher animal welfare in this situation, but it wouldn't justify something like farming dogs. Like, if I just created a free range dog factory, I think many people would have objections to that. Just the fact that it's free range doesn't make it ethical. This point is, this was kind of at the crux of the debate where I said, you wouldn't kill a human that was free range when he was talking about elk. So what's the symmetry breaker? Why are we okay with killing elk but not the human? I can get more into this, but essentially, if you're gonna make a symmetry breaker, like if you're gonna say that it's okay in one context but not the other, there must be some reason why it's okay in one context and not the other. His reason was essentially religion, souls, though, and so that's where we get into this. This is more of just, talking more, I guess, personally, if you would, to Charlie. I don't think that God is necessarily saying, just go kill and slaughter a bunch of animals. I think when he says you have dominion over animals, that you should protect them. You shouldn't just slaughter them for some inconvenience, or, you should have a more valid justification. And then obviously, Jesus, subdue with kindness, not slaughter. We should try to protect these animals, not just mindlessly kill them. Tradition, though, he made this point, eating meat built the West. So did slavery. We're not going to bring slavery back. So why are you appealing to tradition? Soul, though, this was also the kind of the crux of the debate. He made the claim that, well, animals don't have souls. And that's from my doctrine. Animals don't have souls, so it's okay to kill and eat them for food. This leads down, some atrocious logical extensions. And I wish I had pointed this out, but his logic would basically justify a dog meat farm because, dogs don't have souls, so it's fine to farm them for food, right? So, basically, again, the underlining foundational bias here is that it's speciesism. The certain species have souls, only humans do, and everything else does not have a soul. So that means anything that doesn't have a soul, we can do as we wish. So this is a prime example. We wouldn't support a dog meat farm. If you're going to be logically consistent, then you would have to support a dog meat farm. So under Charlie's current logic, he should support a dog meat farm because dogs don't have souls. So, but then by extension, we'll get more into like the human versus animals. It's just easier to conceptualize dogs here because most people already understand that we protect dogs. So it's easier to bridge that gap. But fundamentally, what I'm saying is that, what should be valued is sentience and the capacity to feel pain and suffering and all those things. This is kind of exposing that, we pretend that we grieve over dogs dying, but dogs don't have souls according to Charlie. So, but we still value them, right? So this is just exposing that it's not the soul that gives somebody value. It's the actual capacity to feel pain and suffering and all those things. Crop deaths, though, he made this argument that the farming practices involve animal deaths, but if you were to use that logic, when I'm driving down the road or when people are driving down the road, there's some roadkill that kills maybe dogs, right? I'm sure there's a lot of dogs that I've actually personally seen a dog roadkill. That obviously doesn't mean that we can just go in and kill dogs because, dogs die tragically in car accidents, so that gives me a free reign to just kill animals. No, unavoidable harm does not equal a license to kill. And further on this note, we don't care about animals, so farmers don't care about animals really, so they're not going to worry about the rodent deaths that they're killing in their current practices because they don't even value a cow, so why are they going to value a mice or a rodent? So we have to kind of change our understanding of how we value species, and those practices will improve over time, where we'll have less and less rodent deaths when we're growing crops. Consistency trap. And then this point is the you can see if you're a vegan here, you commit some level of animal death that's unavoidable currently in our current practices. But if you look at the non-vegan lifestyle, it commits considerably more death. So the point is to reduce, especially intentional suffering. We're intentionally killing these animals, whereas we're unintentionally killing those animals. And then this is one of his debate tactics. And it worked really well on me. It just threw me off. Even though I was anticipating some of them, I wasn't prepared to just say, no, I'm not going to entertain what you're trying to do here. Let's stick to the actual logic and debating of the topic of veganism. He's trying to derail the conversation by asking me what do I think about, or what's my stance on pro-life. That's just a derail tactic. That's a debate tactic that he's obviously really good at with all the debates that he does. And that pretty much covers it. But fundamentally, again, it comes down to speciesism. Is what is it if we're okay, if we're comfortable with farming some animals, but we're not comfortable farming humans, what is that? What is the distinction there? Why are we treating them differently? Obviously, humans are different than animals in many ways. We look differently. We have different cognitive capabilities. But I simply argue that those differences are not enough to justify such a difference in treatment. So I'm advocating for the rights of animals to have some basic level of protections. I'm not asking for animals to have the right to vote. I'm simply asking, because they share so many qualities with us, there's so much overlap in the qualities between humans and animals. And by the way, humans are animals, so it shouldn't be that hard to understand. But yeah, there's, if we wouldn't feel comfortable farming humans, but we are comfortable farming animals, what is that distinction? Charlie's was souls. Humans have souls, animals do not. I exposed the problem with that, and I think, let me actually just touch on that one over here. He used basically religion to justify the murder of animals, but that's problematic because religion can then be used to justify any atrocity. If I just say that I have a religion that says people who don't follow my religion don't have souls, does that just automatically give me free reign to kill everybody because, my religion says that they don't have souls, so it should be fine? He would have to accept that argument. I don't think he would. I think he knew that, and that's why he derailed. And so, final message to Charlie, if you somehow are seeing this video, I think I did a really good job here of just exposing the flaws in your reasoning and your logic. I mean, if you're really concerned about the health aspects, go debate a vegan doctor. I'm sure that they can alleviate any concerns that you have regarding the health side. And then I would just ask you to reassess your religious standpoint. I mean, again, I don't think God is saying with dominion over animals that we just have free reign to do whatever we want to them. And I don't think you think that either, but the logical extension of that does lead to some atrocities, or does lead to some absurdities, such as being able to farm dogs just because they don't have souls, according to you. So I think that pretty much covers it. I appreciate you guys if you made it this far in the video. I know this is not a topic people like hearing about. I don't even really like talking about it, honestly. I don't like separating myself from everybody. This is not an easy thing to support. It is an easy thing to support because obviously we want to, what animals are going through is just atrocious. And in my opinion, again, there's just no justifiable reason to be continuing doing that. And part of that, did I not include that in here? I didn't include it, but part of that is the plant hypothetical that I was bringing up. All we're advocating for as vegans is just saying that, look, there is a better way to do this, especially in that hypothetical of, if we find a crop in the Amazon that replicates meat perfectly, it tastes the same, it bleeds the same, it has the same nutrients, so you can't say that, there's different nutrients. Like, everything is the same. It literally, the only difference is it came from a plant versus it came from an animal. Surely in that scenario, most sane people will say, yeah, I would take the plant. If you can actually prove to me that everything was consistent, I would get the same health outcomes. Most sane people would choose the plant route. I mean, why would you want to continue to inflict suffering on animals if there is a clear, obvious alternative? So that's, at a high level, what that hypothetical was trying to expose is get people to think okay, I'm just advocating for a world that reduces the harm of animals. We just don't need to continue to be inflicting suffering on them needlessly. And I think part of that, I put a very short clip of the slaughterhouse videos. Those are not just isolated incidents. This is across the board happening in factory farms across the world. Look into it. Watch the rest of that video, Dominion. I think that is a very critical aspect of veganism. Many people just close their eyes to those videos, but I think it's really important to understand what is happening to those animals in order to move forward. Like we have to agree that this is not acceptable. And like I said, even if a free range, perfectly healthy, there's no suffering involved, the problem is you're still prematurely taking that life. Like we wouldn't accept that in the dog case. If I just, my dog's my best friend, and next thing you know, 5 years later, I fucking stab his back literally and kill him for food, like that would be a tragedy, right? So why are we accepting that as a reason to kill free range elk? So hopefully this, like you can see, Charlie made quite a lot of different justifications here, and I think I dismantled pretty much every single one of them. But yeah, I appreciate if you made it this far in the video, and till next time.